Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap and welcome to the Finance 360-degree sessions in which we cover the relevant and important finance current affairs and the RBI notifications, the RBI press releases that are very important from your exam perspective. Okay, so today I have brought a very important news article, a very important press release of the Reserve Bank of India, the notification of the Reserve Bank of India that is very important from the exam point of view. Let it be the RBI grade B, let it be the NABARD grade A or the SEBI grade A examination. Okay, so this news article is very important from the regulatory body's exam point of view, as the Reserve Bank of India has revised the incentive framework under the priority sector lending guidelines. So what is this incentive framework, how it has been revised by the Reserve Bank of India? So all of this we are going to discuss in today's session. So good morning everyone, and let's start with this. Let's start with the understanding of the incentive framework. But before that, do subscribe to the YouTube channel of EduTap and join our Telegram channel where you are going to get the PDF of the session. And the link for the Telegram channel is provided in the description box below. So let's start with today's topic, and good morning, a very good morning to everyone. So let's start with today's topic, that is priority sector lending amendment to the master directions. So the Reserve Bank of India has revised its incentive framework. So what happens that under the priority sector lending, I hope that the Reserve Bank of India, the government of India, they want the lending to be distributed between the segments of the country, between the different sectors of the country. And the lending should not be only going to the big businesses, should not be only going to the high net worth individuals. The lending should be going to even the agriculture segment, even the export segment, even the social infrastructure segment. So the lending should even be going to these segments, to the MSMEs and such. So what happens that usually the banks, they are very much happy to give the loans to the big businesses or to give the loans to the high net worth individuals, because these individuals or these big businesses, they have a lot of assets. So the banks, and they are usually in the urban area, so the banks are happy to give loans to these segments. But the agriculture, because agriculture is usually happening in the rural areas, for the MSMEs, the banks are not usually very much inclined to give loans to these segments. That's why these segments have to come under the priority sector lending, so that the Reserve Bank of India and the Government of India has said that the banks compulsorily have to give a percentage of their loans to this priority sector lending to these segments. So there are the different segments that have been determined, like the agriculture, export, MSMEs, social infrastructure, education, housing, and these are some of the segments that have been determined that these segments should also be getting the loans from the banks. Okay, so because these segments are very important for the development, so give the loans to big businesses, give the loans to the high net worth individuals, but also give loans to these segments because they are also very important for the development of the country. Okay, so now the Reserve Bank of India is saying that there is the incentive framework. Okay, this incentive framework is actually to push banks to increase the flow of priority sector credit to districts with lower credit flow. So let's say that we are talking about UP, or let's say we are talking about Uttarakhand. So there are different districts in UP, there are different districts in Uttarakhand. Let's say that some of the districts are getting heavy flow of the credit. Let's say Rudraprayag is a district of Uttarakhand. So Rudraprayag is getting a very heavy flow of credit under the priority sector lending. So the farmers as well as the MSMEs that are present in the Rudraprayag, they are getting a lot of credit under the priority sector lending. But the other districts of Uttarakhand, they are not getting so much of the credit, so much of the priority sector lending. So what is happening that there is regional disparity that is being created under the priority sector lending also. That some of the districts that are maybe more modernized or that are becoming suburban, so those districts are getting more of the priority sector lending, while the districts that have more village areas that are very far off, those districts are not getting much of the priority sector lending credit. So the Reserve Bank of India is saying that there is the regional disparity that is being created. Some districts in a state are getting more of the credit, more flow of the credit are going to these particular districts, while the other districts in the same state are getting less priority sector lending by the banks. Okay, so to address this regional disparity at the district level, it has been said by the Reserve Bank of India that there is an incentive framework that is present. Okay, the districts that are getting more of the priority sector lending and the districts getting less of the priority sector lending. So there is an incentive framework that you have to give more credit to the districts that are having less priority sector lending. So what is this incentive framework, that we will understand. But I hope you get the basic idea that some districts are getting more of the priority sector lending, some districts are getting very less priority sector lending from the bank. So to cater to this regional disparity, there is the incentive framework that we will be understanding. So here you can see that the master direction for the priority sector lending, the targets and classification, this has been updated as on June 21, 2024. So there is the update that has been brought by the Reserve Bank of India in the master direction of the priority sector lending. Okay, so priority sector lending is for all the commercial banks, including regional rural banks, small finance bank, local area banks, primary urban cooperative banks, other than the salary earner banks. So simply the priority sector lendings, there are different limits. Let's say that for the scheduled commercial banks, 40% of their A and BC adjusted net bank credit from the scheduled commercial banks, 40% of that should be going to the priority sectors. Okay, as well as for the regional rural banks, do anyone know that what is the priority sector lending that the regional rural banks should be providing? Anyone can tell me? Anyone can tell me the limit here? What is the limit for the regional rural banks? Anyone? Is it 60%, 50%? Yes, it is 75%. So 75% is the priority sector lending that the regional rural banks have to provide to the priority sectors. That means 75% of their adjusted net bank credit, the regional rural bank have to provide to the priority sectors, okay, such as the agriculture, because they are the regional rural banks, so they should be providing more credit to the priority sectors. Okay, so this is the priority sector lending. So there are the criteria that have been provided under the master directions. Now there is an amendment that has happened in the priority sector lending in terms of the incentive framework. So what is this incentive framework? So to address the regional disparities in the flow of priority sector credit at the district level, it was decided to rank the districts on the basis of per capita credit flow to priority sector. That means the ranking of the districts happened on the basis of the per capita credit flow to the priority sector, and build an incentive framework for the districts with comparatively lower flow of credit. So there is an incentive framework that is provided for the districts that have comparatively lower priority sector lending. So with effect from financial year 2024-25, a higher weight, that is 125%, shall be assigned to the credit that is going to the priority sector lending. That is from the financial year 2024-25, that is this financial year. There is, let's say that a bank is providing 100 rupees to a farmer in a district where the priority sector lending is lower. So let's say a district where the priority sector lending is lower. So in this district, if the bank is providing the priority sector lending, let's say rupees 100, this will be considered as rupees 125. So it will have the weight of 125%. Okay, so if the bank is providing the lending of 1 lakh, that will be considered 1,25,000. So you can understand that it will be easier for the banks to achieve their priority sector lending targets. So a higher weight, that is 125%, shall be assigned to the incremental, to the additional priority sector lending in the identified districts where the credit flow is comparatively lower. So if the credit flow is lower in particular districts, if the priority sector lending is being given to those particular districts, the weight will be considered 125%. So what is the criteria that this particular district is having less priority sector lending? That is, this is the criteria. If the per capita, if the per head PSL less than 9,000 rupees, if in the district there is the per capita PSL that is less than 9,000 rupees, then that district is the district where the priority sector lending is comparatively lower, and in that district the weight will be considered 125%. A lower weight, that is 90%. So let's say that in Rudraprayag, where the banks are providing a lot of priority sector lending. So in Rudraprayag, let's say the banks are providing a lot of priority sector lending. So the incremental priority sector lending or the incremental credit that will be provided in Rudraprayag will now have 90% of the weightage. That means if in Rudraprayag you are providing, a bank is providing 1 lakh, that will only be considered, 90,000 rupees will only be considered under the priority sector lending target. Is it understandable? Give me a thumbs up if it is understandable. So a lower weight will be assigned for incremental priority sector credit in the identified districts where the credit flow is comparatively higher, where the credit flow is quite high, that is per capita PSL is greater than 42,000. So you can understand that in the lower PSL, like in the districts where the lower PSL is going, priority sector lending is going, so that is the per capita PSL less than 9,000, and if the per capita PSL is greater than 42,000, that is too much of the credit is going here. That's why there is a lower weight, that is 90%, that is taken here. Okay. Next is the list of both categories have been provided. So this is the list. Of course, there are so many of the districts that have been mentioned. So I have just brought a brief idea for you. There are so many of the districts that have been provided here. I haven't brought the complete list because that is not required, right? So list of districts with comparatively high PSL credit. So this list has been provided. Now the districts that have been mentioned in this list will have 90% of the weightage in terms of the priority sector lending. Okay, that means if the PSL priority sector lending is going to these districts, it will be considered 90% of the PSL. Okay, so the priority sector lending target or the priority sector lending will be 90%, will be considered 90% in the target calculation. Now these are the districts that are the districts with comparatively low PSL credit. So if the PSL credit, if the PSL, that is the priority sector lending, is happening to these districts, then the weightage will be provided to the PSL at 125%. So it will be easier to achieve the targets. It will be faster to achieve the targets. So the list, Neha, what is not clear? Incremental means increasing. So that is going to, because we are considering for the 2024-25. So the credit that has been given, that we do not care. But now the incremental credit, that is the credit that will be given in the coming in this financial year, that is the credit that we will be considering. What is not clear? Neha, which point is not clear? Kindly tell, then only I will be able to explain it better. So the list of both categories of districts will be valid up to financial year 26-27. The districts other than those mentioned in the list will continue to have existing weightage of 100%. So the districts that are getting too much of priority sector lending, for them, if incremental credit is being given, if more of the PSL, if more of the lending is happening, that lending will have 90% of the weightage, or 90% of the credit will be taken as achieving the target in the PSL. Okay, while if incremental credit, if the incremental lending is happening to these districts which are having comparatively lower PSL credit, so if incremental lending is given to these districts, so they will have, the lending will have 125% of the weightage. That means the lending is of 1 lakh rupees, but the lending will be considered of 1,25,000 when you are noting your targets, that you have achieved this much of the targets. Lower weight means, let's say that in these districts you have given, you are a bank XYZ and you have given 1 lakh rupees to this particular district, that is East Godavari. Let's say to East Godavari you have given 1 lakh rupees. In this district you have distributed this much of the credit, right? So now only 90% of this credit, that is only 90,000 rupees will be considered during your PSL target. In your achievement of the PSL target, only 90,000 of the rupees will be considered. Okay, so if the bank is giving, let's say to Tirupati, the banks are giving 10 lakh rupees. A bank is giving 10 lakh rupees in the Tirupati for different credit under the priority sector lending. But only 9 lakh rupees will be considered in your calculation of the PSL target, that you have achieved your PSL target. So for that only 9 lakh rupees will be considered. So if you want to achieve your PSL target in a faster manner, you should be providing the lending to the districts with lower PSL. Understanding the point now? Is it clear? Yes or no? Tell me fast. So simply this is the directions before. So it's not like that the incentive criteria or disincentive criteria is a new framework. No, it was present in 2021-22. So to address the regional disparities in the flow of priority sector credit at the district level, it has been decided to rank the districts on the basis of per capita credit flow. That means which districts are having comparatively higher PSL credit, which districts are having comparatively lower PSL credit. Understood? So now there is an incentive and disincentive framework that has been made by the Reserve Bank of India. So the districts that are having comparatively, so in the financial, for the financial 2021-22 onwards, a higher weight, that was 125%, would be assigned to the incremental priority sector credit in the identified districts that are having lower credit flow under the PSL. So the districts that are having, so in the 2021-22 it was said that we have provided you the list of the districts having lower credit flow. So the districts that are having the lower, credit flow under the PSL. So these districts, if you are providing the lending to these districts, then the lending will have the weight of 125%. Now at that time, the comparatively lower credit flow was considered to be less than 6,000 rupees. Now the criteria has been increased, okay? And a lower weight of 90% would be assigned for incremental priority if you are priority sector lending. So if you are giving the higher priority sector lending to the districts that are having a lot of high priority sector credit, so a district that is having very high priority sector lending, if you are giving incremental credit to these particular districts, then your credit will be considered at 90%. That means your credit will be considered at a lower weight for your PSL target. For the achievement of your PSL target, your credit will be considered at the 90% of the weightage, not 100%. Okay. Now, all the other credit, like all the districts that are not mentioned in the list A or the list B, all those districts will have the percentage at 100%. That is, the weightage will be 100%. So let's say a district is not mentioned in these particular list. So this particular district, that is, let's say ABC district, is not mentioned in any of these lists. So if you are providing 1 crore of the priority sector lending to this district, 1 crore will be considered for your PSL target also, because this district has 100% of the weightage. Any district that is not mentioned in list A or list B will have 100% of the weightage. Okay. Now, what is the update that has happened? So this is the revised paragraph that the Reserve Bank of India has providing, that to decrease the regional disparities, we are having this incentive framework, but now a new list has been provided for the 2024-25 financial year that will continue, and these lists will continue till 2026-27. These lists will continue. These lists will be valid till 26-27. So a new list has been provided for 2024-25 that will be valid till 26-27. Okay. Now in these lists there is the criteria that has been improved also, we can say. So for financial year 24-25, a higher weight 125% shall be assigned to the incremental credit if you are providing the higher priority sector lending, if you are providing to the districts that are having lower PSL credit. So if you are providing incremental credit to these districts, then they will be considered at the weight of 125%. That will help you achieve the PSL target. Okay, but here per capita PSL should be less than 9,000, then this district will be considered comparatively having lower PSL credit till now. A lower weight of 90% will be assigned for the incremental priority sector credit in the identified districts where the credit flow is too much. If the credit flow is going to particular districts, too much of the credit flow under the PSL is going to these particular districts, so that should not be happening, because too much per capita PSL greater than 42,000. So this is the new criteria. If this much of the credit is going to these particular districts, so the incremental PSL that will go here will only have the weight of 90%. Only 90% of the credit will be considered for your PSL target. I hope this is clear. If the district is not mentioned in any of the list, in A or B list, then the districts will continue to have the existing weightage of 100%. So this is the idea. I hope there is no confusion now. Clear? Take a screenshot, read it again. Very easy, nothing much. But the criteria, remember, less than 6,000, greater than 25,000, less than 9,000, greater than 42,000. So this is the update. Okay, that has happened. Now, MSME definition. The Reserve Bank of India has also updated the idea of the MSME definition. So, before what was happening that your MSME definition was taken from your Government of India Gazette. But now the RBI has said that the MSME definition that we will be considering will be taken from the master direction of the MSME. And the definition is same. The definition provided by the master direction of the MSME, that is provided by the Reserve Bank of India, is same as the definition that is provided by the ministry. But the RBI has said that instead of taking the definition from the Gazette of the Government of India, we will take the definition from our own master direction of the MSME. So here this is the definition that the MSMEs are the micro, small and medium enterprises. So what is the micro enterprises? A micro enterprise where the investment in the plant and machinery or equipment does not exceed rupees 1 crore and the turnover does not exceed rupees 5 crore. These enterprises will be considered micro enterprises. A small enterprises is where the investment in the plant and machinery or equipment does not exceed 10 crore and the turnover does not exceed rupees 50 crore will be considered a small enterprise. A medium enterprise is where the investment in the plant and machinery or equipment does not exceed rupees 50 crore and the turnover does not exceed rupees 250 crore, and this is the same definition that has been provided by the MSME, Ministry of MSME. Okay, here you can see that the manufacturing enterprises and enterprises rendering services will be a micro enterprise when the investment in plant and machinery or equipment is not more than rupees 1 crore and annual turnover is not more than rupees 5 crore. So the definition is same, 10 crore, 50 crore, 50 crore, 250 crore. Okay, but the Reserve Bank of India has just said that instead of taking the definition of MSME from the Gazette notification, we will take the definition of MSME from the master direction, from our own master direction. Okay, as well as one important update that has come from the Reserve Bank of India. Let's understand that. Okay, so before it was said that the credit flow that is happening from to the MSMEs and updated from time to time. So there is the MSMEs are under the priority sector lending. Yes, under the priority sector lending there are MSMEs. Okay, so the banks have to provide the credit to the MSMEs under the priority sector lending. Now such MSMEs should be engaged. Now which lending should be, like if the banks are giving the lending to the MSME, so there are some criteria. If you complete this criteria, then only your credit will be considered under the PSL target. Okay, so the banks are providing credit to the MSMEs, but the bank should be following some criteria. There are some particular MSMEs that they should be providing the credit to, then only their lending will be considered under the PSL. So let's say there are two students, Neha and Ritika. So Neha is following some criteria. So if I am giving loan to Neha, then only this loan will be considered as PSL. Ritika is also MSME. But if I am giving the loan to this to Ritika, so this will not be considered under the PSL target. So if I am giving loan to Neha and Ritika, both are MSMEs. But if I am giving loan to Neha, that will be considered under PSL. If I am giving loan to Ritika, that will not be considered PSL. So there were some criteria that MSMEs should be engaged in the manufacture or production of goods in any manner pertaining to any industry specified in the first schedule to the Industries Development and Regulation Act of 1951, or engaged in providing or rendering of any service or services. That means if the MSME, let's say Neha is providing some services or Neha is providing the goods that is mentioned in the particular direction, then only the PSL target can be achieved using this credit that the banks are giving to this particular MSME, that is Neha. I hope this is clear. So all the bank loans to MSMEs conforming to the above guidelines qualify for classification under the priority sector lending. And if you are not following these guidelines, your credit to the MSME will not be considered under the PSL. That means you are giving the loan to MSME. I am giving loan to Ritika. But what is happening that Ritika is not producing the goods that is pertaining to this direction, or Ritika is not providing any service. So I will not want to give loan to Ritika because it is not beneficial for me, because it is not being considered under the PSL. Now, in the recent guidelines, the Reserve Bank of India has said that we are removing this kind of classification. All the banks, all the bank credit, all the bank loans to the MSME shall classify as the priority sector lending. So all the bank loans to the MSMEs shall qualify for the classification under the priority sector lending. So without any thought process that they are following the criteria or not, and if there is any criteria, I can give the loan to Neha also, to Ritika also, because now there is no bifurcation, now there is no classification that is present. If the Neha and Ritika are MSMEs, all the bank loans to MSMEs shall qualify for the classification under the PSL. There is no bifurcation, there is no division, there is no criteria that have been mentioned now. So I hope this is clear, that before there were the criteria, but now there is no such criteria. As easy as that. Any confusion? Yes, now Ritika will get the loan. True, Vikrant. Now all the MSMEs will get the loan because now there is no such criteria. That was before, okay? So now before moving forward, before moving to the questions, so if you go to the edutap.co.in, if you go to the free materials, you will be able to go to the blogs, and if you want to know more about any of the examination, let's say you want to know more about NABARD grade A, or if you want to know more about the RBI grade B or the SEBI grade A, you can go to the exam information. You can select any of the exam that you want to know about. Let's say I want to know more about the NABARD grade A. So if I go to this, I will be able to know the eligibility criteria and the different exam information that I require. I can know from here. I can read the blogs that have been curated very carefully from the exam perspective. Let's say I want to know about the RBI grade B, okay? So just I can know more about the examination from here, okay? If I want to know about the strategy for the examination, for the different components, that I can know from here, as well as the success stories are also provided here for the better understanding that how the toppers have achieved their dreams, right? Even if you want to know about the courses, that is also provided here. Even the strategy, job profile, everything that you want to know about the examination, there is the work that is happening here. The blogs have been prepared here for your understanding, right? So this is the blocks, and if you want to know more about the courses also, you can just go to the courses if you want to know about the RBI grade B course. So that is here. You can see that what are the courses, what are the off that you are getting, and you can know more about the courses and such, okay? So this is the complete website. If you want to know more about EduTap, or if you want to know more about the examination, you can get to know from here. At the end of the page, if you go to the blogs, material blogs, at the end of the page there is the join our Telegram channel. So if you join from here, you will be able to get the PDFs of the session, okay? So this is the idea. Now let's see the first question. I hope you will be easily able to answer this question. See, the MSME definition was directly asked in the previous year question in the RBI grade B examination, because it was in news at that time. So again this can happen because the MSME definition is quite in news recently. So the MSME definition can be asked in the examination. So this is the second question. I hope this has become very easy for you. We have got the complete understanding. So this is it for today. You are most welcome everyone. Thank you for attending this session. You are most welcome Ritika. You are most welcome everyone. So do tell me in the comment section if you like the session, as well as do give the right answer of the homework question. All the very best for your examination, for your preparation. And do give me the right answer of the homework question. Do tell me if you are liking the sessions, as well as if you have any query, you can comment down below. You can comment down below, right? And thank you everyone for joining the session. You're most welcome everyone. Yes, okay. So thank you everyone for joining the session. See you on Thursday now.